and only DNVR. Two goes out to Zach Mace, Arcade, and the bar. Three for Mr. B in that old trophy case. Number four, we're still waiting for, well, bring on the chase. Out on the field at Mile High, Broncos win is our desire. Coupled with a break, brew and a friend, bleed orange and blue to the bitter end. Come and join us, DNVR. We are DNVR.
Welcome into the DNVR Broncos podcast on this wonderful Wednesday. I'm your host, Zach Stevens, joined by my man, Andrew Mason. And before we hop into the show, gotta tell you guys about our presenting sponsor, MSU Denver Online, because over at MSU Denver Online, they are the new urban online university with learning outcomes equivalent to face-to-face courses, which is unheard of at other universities. But over at MSU Denver, they have mastered this because they started doing online learning before the pandemic hit, so they are way above all other colleges and universities. So make sure to check them out, because whether you're online or in campus, it's all the same to them, and you get the exact same education and the same degree. So check them out over at MSU Denver Online. My boy, Mace, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, Braves are up 1-0 in the World Series.
Yes, they are.
I'm
Things
a happy
are
guy
good
this morning. Yes,
and pretty dominant too.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you lose your game one starting pitcher to a broken leg right there, Charlie Morton, by the way, actually getting 3 outs after he broke his leg. So think about that for a moment. And he's still throwing 96, 97 on a fractured fibula.
Wow.
I mean, that's going to be one of those things that you talk about years from now.
Yep.
But
especially if they win.
Yeah, but hey, they're up. That's all you can ask for. But the one thing that Braves fans have kind of dealt with throughout the year is, okay, is this going to be the injury that kind of sends it careening down the hill? You hope that this isn't the one here in the World Series, but we'll find out. But still, a win is a win.
Mace, maybe you won't even need him. You know, if you get that 4 games, you won't even need him.
Come on. Let's not even talk about that.
Well, like we said yesterday, everyone's pulling for your Braves.
You got to be up 2-0 before you can talk about even 3-0 or 4-0. So. And that's the thing. Like, you know, in the football, they have the 24-hour rule. Well, in baseball, it's not even 24 hours,
right,
because most of the time you've got another game tomorrow. So you enjoy it, and then they're right back at it tonight. That being said, big picture baseball thing, they got to do something about pace of play. A 9-inning game should not take 4 hours and 6 minutes.
Oh, man. I didn't realize it was that long.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
And this is coming from a Braves fan. You loved watching last night.
I love baseball, but the length is excruciating.
Yeah.
And I have the same complaint about college football as well.
Yeah.
I've gotten too used to soccer. 2 hours... in and out. I don't think that's ever going to be baseball. But if baseball can get a game like that down to 3 hours, they're right where they need to be. And so they've got to work on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Mace, speaking of speeding things up, our first comment coming in from Scott Jackson. He says, first time tuning in live. Usually listen to this sped up. Weird hearing you guys at normal speed.
So when you talk like this, when you talk really fast, so we can handle it for Scott Jackson?
What would that sound like sped up, though, Mace?
Oh, God. Unintelligible. I mean,
right, exactly.
It would sound like the chipmunks on acid.
Right. That's exactly what it'd be. And we really appreciate you tuning in live, Scott. And for everyone tuning in live, if you're on Twitter, hop over to YouTube, hit us with a thumbs up when you're there. We really appreciate it. And of course, get in the live chat. We love to hear from you. Ryan, hello. We got Bells tuning in. Jason, great to see you guys tuning in live. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you so much for the likes. And Mace, you talked about playing injured.
Yes.
And that is clearly what Teddy Bridgewater did last week. Yep. And yesterday he was on with our friends over at KOA, and he detailed that he was more injured than he or anyone else led to believe on.
Yep, that he was playing last week at 70 to 75.
The sweet spot.
percent health-wise, and that's what he was feeling. And I think it just yields the obvious question. Vic Fangio and Pat Shurmur said the competition was close this summer. They said that it was neck and neck, even Steven for a while. If it were that close, then a Drew Lock at 100% would, in theory, exceed the capabilities of Teddy Bridgewater at 75%, right? I mean, Doesn't that seem logical?
It has to be.
Yes. Well, then it's always the whole thing of what they do versus what they say. They said one thing, but they clearly did. They did something else. So, A, they don't have faith in Drew Lock. B, the other thing is 70 to 75%, and he's hobbling around all week. Are you doing Teddy any service? Are you doing the team any service by having him out there? You're probably the best service is by trying to get by for a game without him, kind of like the Browns did. Going to get by without Baker Mayfield, going to let him see if he can heal. We'll bring in Case Keenum. We'll try to win this game. I mean, that's what your backup is for, right? Especially if the backup is close in talent and ability to the starter.
And 2 weeks ago, I believe it was, or maybe 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago from last week, we had Vic Fangio say that he still views Drew Lock as a starting quarterback in this league. So it's not like Drew has significantly fallen off in their eyes, at least what they're publicly saying, Mace. So something certainly doesn't add up. I guess another scenario here is Teddy hid it from them all of last week, which we know just isn't true because he was hobbling. It was so clear to everyone. So it does boil down to, obviously, it's pretty darn clear now, Mace, that the coaching staff has just tried to protect Drew, has just tried to be nice to him because they certainly don't view him in the way that they've been talking about him.
The thing is, like, go back to Tuesday's press conferences, and Vic is much more declarative about the possibility of Bridgewater playing against Cleveland than Teddy was. Vic's like, Teddy expects Teddy to play, and then Teddy's like, well, we'll see, we'll test it, we'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think that says a lot right there, does it not?
Yeah. Vic's like, no, you're playing, bud.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're glad that Teddy presumably didn't come out feeling any worse, but was the risk worth it? Again, if you supposedly have this guy that you say is a starting quality quarterback who's there in the bullpen. I mean, I think that we can kind of get into the psychology of it. Are they afraid of what the public reaction would be if Drew Lock played well and people would call for him? Well, that's a lack of confidence in yourself as coaches.
Yep.
I think in that instance, what you just simply say what most confident coaches, confident teams would say. We're going to play Drew Lock. When Teddy is healthy, he's the starter.
He's our quarterback.
That's it. He's our quarterback. That's it.
Yep.
We're calling Drew up for the bullpen. We'll use him for as long as we need.
Yep.
And, if Drew Lock does well, that's great. But then you say we're still going back to Teddy. You got to kind of show a confidence that, frankly, I don't think this coaching staff has shown, or at least at the top level of it, the coach hasn't shown in his 3 years on the job.
Yeah, you're 100% right, Mason. Then if we take a step back and look at this at the bigger picture, what this means is, Mace, this means that we have a lot of fans in the live pod and our comments left on the podcast side of things saying, bring Drew in. He can't be any worse. At least get to see if he's the future. But Mace, it comes back to what we say to counter that is, I understand where you're coming from because if they're going to lose, you at least want it to be exciting. But with Drew, the coaches aren't going to do that. That's not how the coaches view this. So there's a huge disconnect between a lot of fans out there and the coaches. And for me, how I view this, Mace, is if you want to bring Drew in because the Broncos are losing, and at least if they lose, it's going to be a little more fun and there's going to be maybe some bigger splash plays, but also some bigger negative plays. Okay, that's fine. But when you start getting into the argument of we need to see if Drew can be the future, that's where you lose me because this organization, not just the coaching staff, but this goes up to George Payton as well. They've said Drew is not the guy in Denver last year, this year, moving forward. So to me, if you want to see Drew just because it's a little more fun, that's fine. But if you want to see Drew because he's the future, that's not the case. And Mace, I don't want that to be the case, and here's why. Because we don't need another year of holding on to below-average quarterback play and that getting them through the offseason, and that's what they pin their hopes to, is hoping that a below-average quarterback, we can start from Trevor Siemian, we can start with Brock Osweiler, we can go to Joe Flacco, we can go to Case Keenum, we can go to every single one of them, below-average quarterback that the organization has hoped would be their answer going into the following year. The Broncos don't need that. They need a big move at quarterback.
They need a big move, and really, I think the only circumstance in which you should see either of these guys back for 2022, probably Bridgewater in this specific circumstance, is if you've decided we are going to draft a guy. Todd McShay, in his first kind of 1 through 32, had 4 quarterbacks on that list for next year's draft.
So you're telling me it's going to be 5 by the time the draft comes around?
Probably. That's the thing. I mean, I know people are down on this quarterback
Right,
class,
right.
but you're going to look up at the end of the day and still see 4 or 5 quarterbacks taken in the first round.
Yep.
You're going to see Malik Willis. You're going to see Desmond Ridder pop in there. You may see Sam Howell in there. You might see Kenny Pickett from Pittsburgh in there. Carson Strong's going to be in the mix as well. I mean, you're going to see guys at that position go off the board. And so basically, that's the only circumstance where I think it would make sense to have Bridgewater back if he is clearly a bridge to a young guy. And in fact, if in March we see that they've re-signed Teddy Bridgewater to a 1 or 2 year deal, that's about as close to telegraphing we're drafting a quarterback as you could get.
Yep. As long as it's 1 to 2 a year at, $20 total million, not 4 years, $120 million.
Yeah.
But obviously, Teddy's not on track for a huge contract anyways. But you're 100% right. That would be a huge signal of what's to come. And Mace, the good thing is it doesn't look, I know a lot of people are saying the Broncos are going to go 3-14. That's not going to happen. And so that also is kind of a bad thing because it means that they're not going to be close to the top of the drafts. But look at the past couple of drafts and look that, sure, you want a better draft pick to be able to get your guy, but look at the quarterbacks who are having a ton of success. Lamar Jackson, the 5th quarterback taken in that draft, picked at number 32. You say, okay, well, that was just one draft. How about last year? Mac Jones, arguably the best quarterback so far in this draft, or second, but I mean, he's having more success than Trey Lance. He's having more success than Zach Wilson, and he's certainly having more success than Justin Fields. So, he's a top 2 quarterback in the draft. Now, right now, I know things can change, but what I'm saying is just because you're picking 11th or 10th or 9th, and you're going to end up with the 2nd to 4th quarterback in a draft, doesn't necessarily mean that you can't have success and find your guy.
And it's who's at the top on your board, right?
Right.
I mean, let's just say hypothetically that they like Matt Corral's skill set the best.
Now we're talking with Lane Kiffin at head coach.
Yes.
Right? What you said.
Siri chiming in.
Siri had something to say about that.
I wonder if she was for Matt Corral or against Lane Kiffin in that one.
Maybe she was dumbfounded by the notion of packaging them together. But Matt Corral, if you're going by Todd McShay's list, he was the 2nd quarterback on the list, right? So.
Yep.
And I think that had him at number 11. Now, that being said, in today's day and age, if you're QB2, you're that means you're going to be bumped up a little bit. If you're listed at 11, you're probably going to go closer to 6 or 7, right? Because of the QB premium.
Absolutely.
But if you finish 7 and 10 and you're picking 13th, I mean, you're kind of back where you were last year, picking 9th and having a quarterback fall in your lap. If you really say, okay, we got to get him, you're in a position to where you're not totally destroying several years of drafts to move up and get that guy.
Right.
So it becomes doable if that's what the Broncos want to do. Frankly, I think they will look at the big-time veteran options first, an Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson. But if those don't pan out, then I think they will go into the draft. And that's, we'll probably have a pretty good idea by March 1st or so what the Broncos' plan is going to be, whether it's going to be eventually tossing it to a young guy or going with a veteran.
Yeah, I really hope so. And Ian B coming in with a great super chat here about this. And I love how it's pushing what I said, because that's what this is about. It's a conversation. We want to see both sides. He says, Baker threw 21 interceptions in his 2nd year. The coaching changed, and he got much better. No quarterback in the NFL has gotten the unfair treatment Drew has. And just to bring this, just to provide a little more context to Ian B's point here, as a rookie, though, because that was his 2nd year when he went out and threw 22 touchdowns, 21 interceptions. As a rookie, he went out and threw 27 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, had over a 93 passer rating, threw for almost 4,000 yards and a 64% completion percentage. So, yes, he did have a very disappointing sophomore year, but you saw it his rookie year. You saw it for an entire season his rookie year.
And Drew had 5 games as a rookie. But remember, that was a stripped-down version of the offense as well.
And Drew did do well, but Mace, as you said, it wasn't even a third of the season.
He did well, and he did well kind of in the aggregate. The interesting thing that kind of happened over those 5 games is that he had his best game was in the 2nd game against Houston, and then struggled against Kansas City. And then we saw those last 2 games. That was really a vanilla kind of game plan to kind of get him on his feet. So the other thing also with Drew Lock, fair or unfair, when you're a second-round pick, you don't get the rope that a first-round pick does.
Right. Yep.
And there was a reason why
overall pick.
And there was a reason why the entire league passed on Drew Lock in round 1 that year.
Yep. And Ian B chimes in again and says also, if Drew would be quarterback 1 in the 20, also Drew would be quarterback 1 in the 2022 draft.
No, he wouldn't.
It's so hard to with years of separation do that.
I mean, the other thing is 2019 wasn't a great quarterback year, right? I mean, it was Kyler Murray, and then Daniel Jones went 6, and there were a lot of questions about Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins and Drew Lock.
Yeah. Were there only 3 quarterbacks in the first round that year?
I believe so. Drew was QB4 that year.
Yep.
And that wasn't a good year.
Yeah, outside of Kyler, that's it.
Yeah, and so this year you don't have a Kyler Murray at the top per se, but I'd say on my list right now I'd have Lock behind Willis, behind Corral, behind Ritter, on my list behind Sam Howell as well. So he'd probably be QB5.
Yeah, and we had that conversation last year too, and that's kind of where
and maybe
he ended
QB6
up falling.
because you'd have Carson Strong in there as well that you could argue.
Yeah, it's true. And Mace, a lot of people in the live pod wanting to dive into this game like we're going to. But first, I got to dive into DraftKings Sportsbook to tell you guys about this awesome deal that they've got going on. We're all over at DraftKings, so we can't take advantage of this deal, but new customers can. So head to the App Store now, download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now, and use promo code DNVR when you sign up to get this awesome offer. If you bet $5 on any NFL game and that team that you choose wins, you get $200 in free bets right there, right then. So why don't you use that on tomorrow night's game? I like the Packers. Maybe just take the points, 6.5, and may even go above 7. I personally like the Packers. If they win, you get $200 in free bets, which you can use on Friday night college ball, Saturday night ball, or even Sunday in the NFL. And man, $200 is so much fun to use, especially when it's free money. Literally, they're giving you free money to have a ton of fun and get in on the action. So make sure to do that now. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code DNVR when you sign up. And of course, DraftKings is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
By the way, my DraftKings pick of the week missed last night because Framber Valdez only had 2 strikeouts as the Braves got to him early.
Well, you're okay with that one losing.
I'm happy to be wrong. I'm sorry. I hope you didn't use that as the basis of an actual cash wager. But I digress. I want to tell you also about ball. And we've talked a lot about open positions at ball. You know, people are what make ball special. People like Zach's and Julie. People at every level come into work at ball each day and give 100% to accomplish the goals. Their production techs are the front line in their can-making operations and directly impact the volume of production they can run, the quality of the production they can run, and are integral to their operations. Production technicians are also important because as their skills grow, they can move into even more mechanical roles. So we got more information about Ball. Their Golden Plant is looking for these production technicians. You can read the full-on description and apply at jobs.ball.com and search for Golden. So we've talked about production technicians. What does a production tech do? It's a good question. Well, the position is on the front line of the aluminum beverage can production process at Ball's plants. Ball offers a competitive salary or wage, of $27.39 per hour with potential for increases at 6, 12, and 18 months on the job. It also offers exposure to a lot of other manufacturing opportunities in the plant. The production technician role touches on the other stages of production, making aluminum cans and ends. So what else they do is they adjust the machines on high-speed production equipment and are part of the production team both in quality and meeting operational goals for volume. At Ball, all positions have importance and impact, and the production technician has skills growth built into it. Many production technicians become maintainers, which is the next step up for the production technician. And employees who have started out as production techs have even gone to other roles in operations and management. It's a full-time role with benefits. Comprehensive insurance is included from the day of hire. You get access to a 401k for retirement, stock purchase ownership program, and even potential for an annual bonus. All these are benefits that you can get by working at Ball. And as Zach's Aunt Julie can tell you, Ball is a
Shout out
great
Aunt
company
Julie.
to work for, and the aluminum can business is booming. Ball made 101 billion cans last year. So if you want to join the Ball team as production tech, go to jobs.ball.com and search for Golden.
Yes, search for Golden. And Aunt Julie is also a subscriber and member over at
Hey.
DNVR. If you want to be like Aunt Julie and ride with us, we'd really appreciate it. Go to thednvr.com, join our family, and of course, get a t-shirt when you're at it over at DNVR Locker. And of course, guys, we got so much going on here at the DNVR bar, not just games, and we have games with all sound, which is so rare. You don't get that at other bars. You don't get the sound on. And all Colorado games, we get the sound. So come on, hang out here. Nuggets and Avs in full swing right now. We need those teams to get back on track, and you should be here for that. Also, though, we got more than just the games. We've got a delicious happy hour featuring, of course, Hassel Cattle Company, Wagyu beef, and some great drink deals every day from 3 to 6. So come stop by, come say hi, catch a game here. And then also, Mace, get in on the tailgate this week against the Washington football team. It's Peyton Manning themed, Halloween themed. Maybe wear a Peyton jersey, maybe wear a Halloween Peyton themed jersey. We were talking about yesterday. Make that forehead big and become super smart, and you'll be dressing just like Peyton. Make sure to get your tickets over at DNVR Locker for the tailgate, and of course you get pizza, sexy pizza. You get Breck beers when you're there, and then if you want to take the bus, which I would highly recommend, you get here at 10. Bus leaves right after the digital tailgate ends. Takes you to the tailgate itself. Only $35 to get the round trip ticket there and back, including entrance to the tailgate. So make sure to do that. And of course, we'll have Breck Brews here at the bar. We'll have Breck Brews down at the tailgate, and you can never have enough Breck Brews because they've got so many winners over there at Breck Brew. It's still Strawberry Sky season, which I absolutely love. And as Ryan Davis says, come down on Saturday night for the Halloween party. It's gonna be popping.
Yeah. Not really a Halloween party person myself.
Who are you dressing up as, Mace? You going as Peyton?
No.
I think when we talk to Peyton on Saturday, on Sunday,
costume.
you should dress up as Peyton for the game, and so when you interview him, you look just like him.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think that one was gonna fly for you.
Sorry, I'm just curious to see if they get the forehead right like they did on his Hall of Fame bust when they have his Ring of Fame pillar, because of course when they unveiled the bust and Archie kind of put his hand on the forehead.
That was great.
Teasing him
Total troll move right there. Well, Mace, there is a football game this weekend.
Against the football team.
Against the football team.
There are many football teams, but there is only one football team.
Exactly. The one from Washington or Virginia or Maryland, wherever they're actually from.
They have D.C. as their city name.
Yep.
They train in Virginia. They play their games in Maryland.
Oh my gosh, what a nightmare! I'm so happy the Broncos don't have that. I guess the Broncos have the city difference where their headquarters is in Inglewood, but they play in Denver. But at least it's the same state, the same metro area. I guess that's probably the same metro area too. But
DMV, baby.
Let's see what the Broncos need to do. And Mace, let's jump into our whiteboard Wednesday here. And the first key for this game is Haunt Scary Terry. And thanks to our great producer, Allie, for making this a little Halloween themed here. And we're going to roll with that. So Scary Terry, of course, I'm talking about Terry McLaurin, the guy that we all loved down at the Senior Bowl a couple of years ago, went in the 3rd round by the Washington football team. Everyone knew that was just a great draft choice when they made it, and he has turned out to be Mace. In the 2 games that he has 100 yards receiving on the year, the Washington football team is 2-0. This is not only a fantastic leader off the field, but boy, is he a leader and has so much to do in their success. If he has a good game, you're going to be really big trouble if you're the Broncos. And because he's also Taylor Heineke's favorite weapon when they're doing well. So you got to make sure that you shut him down, which leads me to the question, Mace. You put Pat Surtain on him since he's your best corner?
I think you probably have to. If you're gonna have anyone shadow him, it would probably be Pat Surtain. Of course, he went 5 picks after Draymond Jones in the 2019 draft.
Wow.
And, Draymond Jones has had some flashes, but hasn't been a great season for Draymond Jones right now.
It certainly is not.
That it's looking like that was a maybe not a miss of a pick, but
Right.
I think you mentioned how much we all like Mclaurin down at the Senior Bowl in 2019, and actually had him on the radio leading up to the draft. And when that pick came around, I was hoping against hope that the Broncos would take
Yep.
McLaurin. I was loving some McLaurin. But
Yeah.
you mentioned how Taylor Heineke likes him. Of course, he's got four touchdown catches so far this year, and 3 of them came in the 2 games that Washington won. He had a touchdown against the Giants. He had 170 yards that day.
170.
He had a 107.
Oh, 107. Okay.
He had a
that's
buck
high.
23 and 2 scores against Atlanta,
Yep.
Washington's other win. And the only exception, 122 yards on 7 catches and a touchdown, last week's loss at Green Bay. But as we've already discussed, that game was a couple of goal line flubs away from basically being an overtime game between those 2 teams. Definitely the classic example of the game was much closer than the score indicated. So when Washington's getting Terry McLaurin involved, generally speaking, they're playing good football, the kind of football they want to play.
Yep, exactly. And so speaking of who's throwing him the ball, the Broncos have to put Taylor on his Heineke.
Aye.
Yeah, you see what we're doing there with that. The Broncos have to limit Taylor Heineke. Look, he is not a very good quarterback. He's a young guy, so maybe he's just inconsistent. But Mace, when he has a good game, the Washington football team wins. When he's thrown for 200 or in 90 or more yards, the Washington football team has won. When he takes them on his back, they win. But it has to be to the extreme. It has to be to almost a 300-yard game. In their 2 wins, he has a 290-yard passing game, and he has a 320-yard passing game, I believe. So that's the key for the Broncos, is don't let Taylor Heineke destroy you and carry this team on his back. And Mace, the concerning thing about this is entering the season, you would say the Broncos defense is going to dominate Taylor Heineke. Now, this secondary and this pass defense has not looked good at all. And I can envision a world in which Taylor Heineke throws for 300 yards against this team. It's happened multiple times against the Broncos already.
Well, the other thing, in terms of his 6 starts this year, the 2 best in completion percentage for Heineke were the 2 games Washington won.
Yep.
He completed 69.7% of his passes against Atlanta, 73.9% against New York, the 2 games that they won. The next closest one after that was last Sunday at Green Bay. Again, probably the best game that Washington has played of any of their losses was the game they played at Green Bay. So if he is completing 2/3 of his passes or better, and if he's avoiding mistakes, he's had a couple of games with multiple interceptions this year, and obviously Washington lost both of those. They lost to New Orleans with 2 picks, lost to Buffalo with 2 picks. 1 pick against Kansas City, Green Bay, the Giants, no picks against Atlanta. So obviously you can kind of see the scale that operates on. So you want to not only put him on his butt, but you want to do something that the Broncos have done very poorly, which is take the ball away. The Broncos, the last 4 weeks, Zach, dead last in takeaways per game. And in the Vic Fangio era, the Broncos are tied for 28th in the league with 3 other teams, and better than only one team, the Detroit Lions, in takeaways per game in the Fangio era. That, I think, when you look at the last two and a half seasons, I think the biggest disappointment in Vic Fangio's stewardship in terms of on-field play is the fact that his defense was not what you expected, at least based on what we saw in 2018 in Chicago. There have been other years where Vic's defense didn't force a lot of takeaways, but you were hiring him based on that 2018 season when the Bears did. And that's been a huge disappointment with the talent the Broncos have on that side of the ball.
Yep, exactly. The next whiteboard hit is trick and treat. And of course, Mace, everyone wants the treats when it comes to Halloween, and especially on the football field, because that means, points, scoring points. The Broncos haven't got those treats that much, that often this football season. But in order to get the treats, Mace, they're going to have to do some tricks. And how tricky have we seen this Broncos team so far this season? We haven't. I mean, on defense, we haven't seen anything creative. On offense, we certainly haven't seen anything creative. I'm trying to think of the biggest trick play the Broncos have run on offense, and this may be a little bit extreme, but I feel like it's those fake jet sweeps they do all the time is like the trickiest thing in their arsenal, and it's a fake. And now they've handed that off, I think, 1 or 2 times, and they haven't gone for big plays. But honestly, that may be the biggest trick play they've had.
Yeah, and I'm not saying go full-on Dan Campbell, Detroit Lions here, but you need to try something to kind of shake things up.
Keep special teams out of it.
Well, that might be where the trick play comes from, and I can feel people's throats kind of clenching a little bit. Oh, God, Tom McMahon trick play.
Yeah.
Special teams actually been the best unit on the team the last couple of weeks.
It has, crazy enough.
Yeah.
Most consistent one.
So, I'm just, whether it comes on special teams, whether it comes on offense, just show that you're starting to kind of throw everything and the kitchen sink out there.
Right. Yep.
You know?
Yep. Because in that
what do you have to lose at this point?
And also, Mace, wouldn't that kind of give the players a sense of urgency to show, like, hey, the coaches are showing that we have to have this? The past few games, when you've been desperate, when you've really needed to win these games against the Raiders, against the Browns, you should have been breaking out these plays. Now you have to win this game. I mean, we've already set the past 2 games up as, like, turning points in the season. But if you want any chance in turning this thing around, because the Broncos are already on the downside of this right now, you have to win this game. And then maybe you beat the Eagles at home. The Broncos will be favored in that game if they win this game this week. And then you can be at 500 going into the bye week. So you have to win this game. The coaching staff has to treat it like that. And they have to put the plays where their mouth is and do some creative things.
I worry that we may not see these kind of effort trick plays unless there's a coaching change.
Oh, man.
And I'm reminded old school Tampa Bay 3 decades ago, and they made a coaching change late in the 1990 season, and then all of a sudden you've got reverses, you've got flea flickers, you've got all of a sudden they just loosened up.
Yep.
Now, what Vic and company need to do, especially with probably their jobs on the line here in the next few weeks, is just loosen up.
Yep.
Try some things.
Yep. Have some fun.
Have some fun, and at least say, hey, we tried. Right. We tried it. We tried that. The regrets are the shots you don't take. Right.
Yep.
Try it. Take a shot.
Yep. Exactly. Take a shot.
They took the shot a few months ago on the coaching staff. Now take a shot.
A shot. Yeah. At least go out swinging. At least you haven't done this, so at least try this. And let's get to our last whiteboard key here. And Mace, it is a special one. Don't give away candy, even though it's Halloween, Mace. What are you saying?
I'm saying don't turn the ball over.
Yes.
And look, Teddy Bridgewater, his calculus for being a viable quarterback is to not turn the ball over. And since the last play of the Pittsburgh game, 5 interceptions and a lost fumble. And if he's turning the ball over at that rate, why are you playing him?
Yep.
So this is what's kind of on the line for Teddy Bridgewater here, assuming that he's healthier and should play, is protect the football and do what you're supposed to do. This is your advantage over Drew Lock, is that you have historically better ball security. That hasn't been the case, and he's just had this cluster of giveaways. It's like do you remember the practice? I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day of training camp when it just rained turnovers for him.
Yep.
Like he's in that cluster right now.
Yep.
It's like a picture who just is all of a sudden he's cruising along, and then all of a sudden walks a couple batters, hits a guy, and it's bases loaded with nobody out.
Yep.
He's having an episode right now. He needs to pull himself out of that episode. Otherwise, there's no reason to play him.
Yeah. It's a really good point, and something that I'm sure he understands right now. And Mesa, if you need to get yourself together because you're all out of whack, well, make sure to check out the Weed Whacker from our friends over at Manscaped. Of course, the Weed Whacker, get all that hair in your nose, get rid of it. Get all that hair in your ears, gone just like that. And of course, if you need some help below the belt, turn to their Lawnmower 4.0, which is the best razor out there because it's got that skin-safe technology, that advanced skin-safe technology, I should say, which, Mace, is the most important thing when you're talking about a razor. But then it's got a 7,000 RPM motor, too, which really makes it so that it makes things easy. And also has, it has all the features you could ever imagine on a car, and it has it in a little razor. It's got wireless charging, so you don't have to worry about battery life. It's waterproof. You can take it in the shower if you want. It's got an on and off switch for an LED light, so it really is the most versatile razor out there. And you can get 20% off over at Manscaped by using the code DNVR over at manscaped.com, and you'll also get free shipping when you do that. And might I recommend also checking out the Performance Package 4.0, which comes with that lawnmower. It also comes with the Crop Reserver, the Crop Reviver, a travel bag, shaving mats, anything, the Performance Boxers. So make sure to check out everything they have going on, including some shower products as well. And you can get 20% off all of that by using the code DNVR over at manscaped.com.
We recommend Manscaped. We recommend Breckenridge Brew. I would recommend making sure you take care of the manscaping before you have your Breckenridge brews.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, that's the precursor.
Exactly.
Manscaped, Breck Brew, then go to the DNVR bar for the night.
It's appropriate that we're doing the Manscaped read before the Breck Brew read. Of course,
Yeah.
Breckenridge Brewery is the official beer of DNVR. We've got the Good Company hard seltzers on hand here at the DNVR bar. Check those out. If you come on out to the DNVR Broncos tailgate on Sunday, not only do you have that pizza from Sexy Pizza, but you're going to have an array of delicious Breckenridge brews in those coolers on hand, so you can get yourself a little bit lathered before going on in to watch the football team and the Broncos. Of course, we love our Breck beers. We love our seltzers. We also love that the Breckenridge Brewery this year teamed up with the National Parks Conservation Association to give 1% of their profits to help our great outdoors. So anytime you buy a Breckenridge beer, anytime you buy one of those Good Company hard seltzers, you're going to give a little bit to help the great outdoors. Of course, if you want to get Breckenridge Brew, you can come on down to the DNVR bar. You can go on down to the farmhouse in Littleton. That's at their brewery. It's right off Santa Fe, and have a great meal with some of those delicious Breck brews. Or if you just want to get some and have some at home, then go to the Breck Beer Locator on their website. You're going to find out plenty of places in Colorado. By the way, Christmas Ale. I was at King Soopers earlier this week. Christmas Ale is in stock.
Yeah.
It's back. So we're feeling a little nip in the air right now. There's snow in the forecast for next week here in Colorado. It's going to get you in the mood for that Christmas ale as all those decorations start going up.
And my favorite thing about Breckenridge Brew, or I guess one of my favorite things, and one thing that really makes them stand out, is their mini kegs that they have.
Those are
in
there.
liquor stores. Christmas ale. Yep.
Already seen them. They're already there.
You got to get those for a party that you're having. And you also have to check out our friends over at Mint Mobile. Mace, you and I have already checked out Mint Mobile. You and I are putting our stamp of approval on Mint Mobile because we love their service. And what Mint Mobile is it's incredibly affordable cell phone service with the exact same cell phone service that you're getting right now. All it is at a much cheaper price. And you're probably like, well, what's the catch? Because after a year or two, they're probably going to raise my rates just like every other cell phone service company. Nope, they don't do that. This is the price forever. And the reason is that they're able to make it so cheap is they don't have any in-person stores. So what you do is you go on to mintmobile.com and you sign up for one of their plans. You go to mintmobile.com/DNVR, sign up for one of their plans starting at $15 a month. All of their plans include unlimited talk, unlimited text, and then you just choose the data plan you want from there, and you start at $15 a month. Mace, a lot of people are paying over $100 a month. $15 a month, you can get it. They send you a little SIM card in the mail. It's so easy. You take it out, you put it in your phone, you download an app like I did, and boom, there you go. You get to keep your own phone. You get to keep your own number. You just get to save tons of money in the process. So make sure to check them out. There's no reason not to, guys. They use the same towers, cell phone towers that all of the major companies use. So that means you get the exact same cell phone service at literally no disadvantage to you. So make sure to check them out over at mintmobile.com/DNVR. All right, Mace, let's hop into the comment section. And before we do, let's hit a super chat coming in from Neil Jones really quick. He says, Mace, would you have had Mayfield as quarterback 5 in the 2020 draft? If not, why treat him the same as Locke?
I wouldn't have had Mayfield. And again, like you mentioned, Mayfield did much more as a rookie than Locke did.
Right.
And Mayfield was more accurate coming out of Mizzou than Drew Lock.
Right.
And more accurate, showed more acumen with a complex offense running what Lincoln Riley ran compared to what they ran at Mizzou. Just a better prospect.
Yeah, and I think most people would have said that about Baker as well. Okay, let's hop into the comment section, Mace. And first one coming in from Mile High Till I Die. He says, my boys, I came in hot with some post-game negativity the other day as I and we are all frustrated with so many facets of this team. So today I wanted to come in with some positivity and gratitude and say thank you for all the great work that you do. Everything that DNVR does on a regular basis is inspiring to see, entertaining to hear, and I'm thankful for this community. Well, thank you so much, Mile High Till I Die. We are very thankful for you. He says, also, I have a quick question. What are the chances that a new owner is super involved in the day-to-day operations with this team? I may be wrong, but it seems like the old school owners like Mr. B, Jerry Jones, and Jim Irsay are more hands-on and involved with their teams, whereas newer potential owners just have insane wealth that they want to spend on a new shiny toy and have the clout that comes with owning a sports franchise when they themselves don't really know anything about football, i.e. Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, I would expect that we would see, if we're talking about these multi-billionaire owners, that they would have somebody who would be running the day-to-day.
Yep.
And that would be basically kind of the point person. For example, like the one that went through my mind to take an example from another sport was when the Abu Dhabi investment group bought Manchester City back in the late 2000s. Well, they designated one person, Khaldoun Al-Mubarak, to basically handle the day-to-day administration of Man City. So I would think that you would see something like that where if it was one of these mega billionaire owners, that they would have somebody who'd basically be the CEO and the day-to-day hands-on and would ultimately, kind of provide some reports to the owner, and the owner would get to receive the trophies, basically.
Right. Yep.
But you'd have somebody, a chairman, who was basically handling the day-to-day.
Yeah, exactly. And if you look at Pat Bowlen, he was not a billionaire by any means when he bought this. What did he buy him for? 100 and no, that was Jerry Jones buying the Cowboys.
No, it was like, right? I want to say it was like about $40 million or so.
$40 million, holy cow! So look at that, and of course we know that Pat had to do some things to make sure that the team was still funded, and it was really his baby.
Yeah, Pat. I'm actually looking at this. Pat Bowlen. Okay, $78 million. My bad.
78. Okay.
Yeah, Edgar Kaiser I think was about $40 million. Edgar Kaiser made a mint in just 3 years owning the team.
Man, that is impressive.
Yes.
Next one coming in from Chicago Bronco 86. As much as I don't want it to be the case, I'm tired of always waiting on next year. Is it possible Peyton's best move is to focus on shoring up this roster this offseason and getting a quarterback the next? While the Chiefs will always be a contender with Mahomes, with his cap hit, their strongest season seems to be behind them. We saw something similar in Seattle with when they had to pay Russ. In the last 15 Super Bowls, only I think 6 of the 30 teams had a quarterback with a top 5 cap hit. With those were Brady, Eli, Peyton, and Matt Ryan. They suggest your best Super Bowl window is before shelling out for a mega contract, even with an elite guy. With that seemingly weak quarterback class, could it be prudent to try and build a roster that's a quarterback short of truly contending, then do whatever it takes to get the guy for 2022 in order to maximize your best window, short of a 3-step rebuild to completely starting over in 2023? Thoughts?
It would make some sense, but what do you think of the 2023 class? Is it any better on the surface than 2022? Because
I'm looking at the 2026 class, Mace.
Because you're looking at Arch Manning, right? Yeah, that's fair. There are probably a lot of Broncos fans who, deep in their hearts, feel that way. Yeah. But the other thing is also the value of the quarterbacks available in this year's class. It may align best with where the Broncos pick. If they're picking middle of the first round, the value of the quarterbacks that we're talking about may actually be mid-first round, and so it might line up. I don't think you say we're not picking a quarterback this year because maybe we could have a chance of getting a guy next year. I don't think you should do that. If you like a guy this year, you pick him this year.
Yeah, and you move up and you trade up and you do whatever you need to do in order to get him But if you don't like any quarterbacks and you're picking at 15 and there's none that you like there, Mace, then you don't say we're just going to take a quarterback to take a quarterback. But if you do really like a quarterback there, you do take him. You don't pass up on him.
Well, I do think that maybe one weakness the Broncos have had is I think they find more reasons to not like quarterbacks because they've been burned. And, like, for example, we saw the report earlier this year about Justin Fields, and yes, he's struggling right now. I get that. But the report from, I believe, Charles Robinson was that a reason why the Broncos didn't take Justin Fields was because of concerns about epilepsy, concerns that have largely been allayed. And if that was the reason why they didn't take Justin Fields, I don't know if that was the best reason.
I agree with you. And also, there's another guy, Mac Jones, out there in New England.
Of course.
Next one coming in from Jock. He says, at the Madden League, I'm coming for you, boys. See y'all Saturday, Mace. We're starting our new Madden League this year with our big draft, which we start with a completely empty roster, and we draft an entire roster this Saturday. So, Jock, I hope you're not coming for my players. I want the good ones.
You've been attached to them, huh?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now we're starting over, so hopefully I can get some good ones.
Right,
but I look forward to that, Jock.
All right, move on to Casper. Fellas, I understand the team is trying to make the playoffs, and Teddy most likely gives them the best chance. But if Peyton is looking at the long-term picture, wouldn't starting Locke be the best choice? Either he figures it out and the team can build around him, or he fails and the team has better draft picks to find the guy. Having Bridgewater start is just letting mediocrity win. That does nothing to help. How say you?
Well, and I totally see where you're coming from, Casper, and see what you're saying. But George Payton is still making moves to help this team this year. Vic Fangio is not thinking about the future. They're thinking about the now still. So that's why they're still on Teddy Bridgewater. You will be right. If this comes to the bye week, Mace, and they are below 500 or on a 7-game losing streak or something crazy like that, then there will be a move made like this.
How much do you think of it with Vic is not trusting Drew and the quarterbacks and the returning, and because Brett Rippon's in the room as well, not trusting Drew and Brett Rippon after what happened last year with the not wearing masks and then having the contact tracers destroyed and then lying about or placed in different parts of the room and then lying about it.
I think it really taints Vic's opinion.
I think Vic just Vic and the coaches, I think after that, they just don't trust those guys.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I see where you're coming from as well, Casper. Next one from Windy City Bronco. Being the worst team in the league is almost as hard as being the best team. You have to make bad draft picks, bad free agent signings, and bad coaching decisions over years to truly be bad. Even then, you can screw up, win one game, and ruin everything. Even if you win the race, you become the Jaguars, a team with cost-controlled quarterback going to waste while they're trying to build the roster. So when we talk about rebuild, keep that in mind. We aren't a team that has a lot of deadweight contracts. We just need to let some veteran talent go as we look to develop young players for the future. It's not a radical change. Mostly, we need better coaching.
Jaguars need better head coaching.
Yeah, that is for sure.
And actually, that's a team that they're having injuries take a toll, but it's got some talented parts to it. Mm-hmm. I think if you plugged... Obviously, extreme example. But if you plug Sean Payton as the head coach of that staff ahead of Urban Meyer, I think the Jags are at least 3-3.
Yeah.
Talent's at least, maybe even 4-2. There's talent on that team.
He has lost that team completely.
Yes. There's talent on the coaching staff as well. I think the interesting thing with the Jaguars is that the guy who may be the right person for them might be Darrell Bevell sitting there on that staff.
Interesting. We'll see what route they go. Mile High Buckeye says, my boys, it's been a rough few weeks. Going to the games in Pittsburgh and Cleveland were brutal. I can't believe Vic and Pat Shurmur still have jobs. You guys have been the bright spot during this whole season and make my work days better. I didn't get the RK should have guaranteed a win comments. His optimism last Wednesday was a much needed boost. All that being said, we need to rebuild with a modern offense and a new quarterback. What do you think the asking price is on Justin Fields? I have one more game to go to this year, Dallas, and I'm mentally preparing myself to get hurt again. Much love, Alex. Much love to you, Alex. Mm-hmm. We love that you're rolling with us.
Asking price on Justin Fields. I don't think the Bears will trade him. In fact, the Bears, if they have any intelligence about them, if they make a coaching change in the offseason, will hire a coach specifically for developing Justin Fields. If I were Chicago and I didn't mind bringing in a guy with no head coaching experience, I would look at the job that Greg Roman did with Lamar Jackson in Baltimore and say, I want some of that.
Yep.
Greg Roman would make a heck of a lot of sense for the Bears.
He really will. That's a great point. LDJ says, you know what great teams and organizations do? They allow for the best players to play. Hayden Hurst drafted in the first round. Mark Andrews in the third. Both taken the same year. Hurst is gone. Andrews is a stud. I want Noah Fant to compete with Alberto for the tight end one. Alberto touchdown in week 1 versus the Giants is a testament to the pedigree of the player he is and effort, and beyond frustrated with Noah for not fighting for plays and being soft. We got to give Alberto more opportunities. And that good thing is Alberto is back on the practice field. He could play this week.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to get more opportunities, but he's got to do something with them. He had a great opportunity in the Baltimore game running down the right side of the field, and the ball literally goes through his hands.
Yeah.
He isn't all the way there yet.
I don't want to be too hard on Alberto because he's still young and he missed a lot of last season. But Mace, he has had a lot of crucial drops in the season so far. I love his talent, and you got to keep feeding him. But he needs to take advantage of every opportunity he gets in order to take over Noah Fant's spot.
I mean, really, kind of the steadiest guy is Eric Salbert right now.
Yes, he is. Drake graduate. Yeah. Ohio Bronco Alex, he says, give me 3 reasons why the Broncos still make the playoffs. Go.
They get Jerry Jeudy back, and could transform things for Teddy Bridgewater in particular. That's why this game's really interesting for Teddy, because he gets his security blanket back out there.
Mm-hmm. So, Mace, that's one. I'm going to go with a 2 here, see if you agree with me. George Payton's a buyer right now. He's all in on this team as of right now. Now, I don't think the moves he's made are game-changing moves, but I think it shows that, at least as of right now, George Payton's not looking to sell the team away.
He hasn't given away anything of consequence in buying. I mean...
Yeah. But he's also not giving away big-time players yet.
Right, yet. And we'll see if that changes after the Washington game. And then, well, number 3, if the Chiefs aren't that good, then between now and the end of the season, let's say you have 2 games with the Chiefs and they're not good and they shut it down. Maybe you can win them and you can beat the Eagles and you can beat Washington and beat Detroit. And then it's, okay, how do you steal a game from the Chargers? And how do you maybe steal the game at Vegas and beat Cincinnati at home? You do get them at home.
Yep.
So
that's the type of optimism we're looking for, Mace.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if the Chiefs end up spiraling, that's maybe a couple of wins there if you're going to be optimistic.
There we go. I love it, Mace.
But, I don't know.
Mace, let's get to this one really quick. Pig Tosser 66 says, I tried scrubbing the heck out of this damn tattoo, but it just won't come off. Of course, he's talking about his Broncos tattoo. Kidding, of course. I'm ride or die, but dang, we sure have taken a swan dive since my son and I decided to profess our love for the squad with some ink. Need a win so I don't feel like I have a scarlet letter branded on me. This team has big problems. Something there is really just off, and it's very obvious to anyone watching. Got a clean house with this coaching staff. Good teams all seem to have a noticeable energy that this Broncos team just doesn't seem to have. We think it sucks for us to watch football, but it looks like the players hate being on the field even more. This team is broken, and we need a new leader. Year 3 in the Fangio system, and this is what we get? No fire, lack of communication, poor tackling. I can go on and on about how awful this defense is. And on offense, there is no identity whatsoever. What are we trying to do on game day? What does the other team have for the game plan? It's like we go into every game like it's a preseason game. We have to be the easiest team to coach against. I just don't get it. I love this team and always will. I have no choice now with this damn tattoo. But watching them is just not very enjoyable. It's actually painful, but rolling with you guys definitely helps ease the pain.
Well, the thing that sometimes happens if there's a disconnect between the coaches and the players is you start seeing more and more business decisions.
Yep.
Maybe you don't make that extra lunch. I mean, or, you have Cortland Sutton, who didn't try to make a tackle on an interception against the Raiders. Now, he had the ACL he suffered last year on an interception tackle, so he can get some trepidation. But on that play, he basically goes straight for the sideline.
Yep.
You start seeing, when things devolve, you start seeing more little things like that.
Yep,
happening.
you do.
Like on defense, if the play is flowing away from him and the runner is taking off and getting to the second level and beyond, maybe if it's away from his side, he's just kind of jogging and kind of standing rather than continuing to pursue.
Yeah.
It's little things like that where you see that everyone's kind of not on board with the head coach at this point. That's the evidence of it.
And Mace, the scary thing is we saw that with Aqib Talib in the final game of the season many years ago. But the scary thing is we've already seemed to see some of this year. And we're talking about week 7, week 6, week 5. That is the scariest part.
It's not that they won't play hard most of the time, because you're playing for your own career, your own livelihood. And I think, we've been kind of hard on Teddy, understandably so, because of the turnovers. I think in the second half, especially, that offense played hard for him in the huddle, because he was kind of trying to grit it out on 70 to 75% at that point. And that was part of the reason why they came back in that game.
Yep.
So it's not like you're going to see everybody shutting it down, but there's always that little kind of extra that's missing that if a team is all in with its coaches, is there.
Yep.
And that's something that could be a difference on Sunday, because Washington is clearly in lockstep and on board with its coaching staff.
Yeah, it really is. They are buying all in to Ron Rivera and what he brings. Well, Mace, that'll do it for us today. We got to get to Broncos practice right now. We see that we didn't get to a couple of those questions. Melbourne Bronco, we definitely wanted to save that one for when Ryan is on. Dan Burke, we see your questions coming in. Hip, hip, you Ray. So if we didn't get, and Big Tony as well, if we didn't get to your question, please just drop it in tomorrow's podcast, and we will try our best to get there. We're going to have a bonus pod at the end of this week, too, so we'll be able to get to all your questions regardless. But just drop it in so we can get to it. And Mace, that'll do it for us. And before we get out of here, got to tell you guys about our friends over at Green Mountain Dental. You know the deal, guys. If you schedule a cleaning, x-ray, and exam over at Green Mountain Dental, they'll give you a free Sonicare toothbrush. Look, you have to go to the dentist twice a year anyways to take care of those teeth. Might as well do it over at a place that is part of the DNVR fam that'll treat you incredibly well. They're the best damn family-owned dentist in the metro area. So check them out, schedule that cleaning, x-ray, and exam, and you'll get a free Sonicare toothbrush when you do it. And make sure to tell them that DNVR sent you and you can talk Colorado sports with them. But Mace, that'll do it for us today. Thank you all so much for tuning in. We really appreciate you rocking and rolling with us. And we'll be back with some predictions on what's going to happen tomorrow. So make sure to tune in, hit us with a like on your way out, and we'll talk to you tomorrow on the DNVR Broncos podcast.